Welcome to another episode of the Dynasty Roundtable. Tonight, we have a mock draft for you. Just a 2-round, one quarterback mock draft. Just a little check-in. We'll talk some other players too after the draft's over. Players that weren't drafted and why they weren't drafted. We'll also get into, I think, more detail in this episode because I don't know about you, Matt, but I feel pretty strong in my 2-round mock. I feel like I've arrived at a place here on February 17th. This is when we're recording this episode. So if anything happens between now and, when it's released, probably early, well, I don't know what day it is. I'm a father of a 4-month-old. So, or what day of the week it is, rather. Whenever this comes out, don't get mad at us if something breaks before then and now, news-wise or otherwise. Hopefully nothing. But I don't know how you're feeling about this right now, but I feel pretty rock solid about my top 24. Like, sure, there's a few names in there. We discussed one of those names before the show. That's a polarizing name right now. We might throw a little cold water on that. But how are you feeling about where you are in your rookie ranking process, your rookie evaluation process? Talk to me, and how are you doing and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, transparently, you'll learn a little bit about me and what I've been going through. But I say that like something bad's about to happen. But I'm in the process of getting a house and moving into a house, and so I felt a little bit behind it before this all started. This was the period in time where I really wanted to buckle down and grind on film, and then this kind of fell into our laps, and so looking to spend a little bit of time getting more into that this week, but I have been able to, catch up on some cut ups. Thankfully, the content game is going strong, so it's very easy to hop on Twitter and search some people up, find some short clips from YouTube. So not full on analyzing film, but at least kind of passively watching as I have some free time. But there are people that are, constantly moving around. Cam Skattebo is a guy that leaked into the tail end of the rankings at one point and now is pushing his way up pretty far. He's getting a lot of steam right now. And we were just talking backstage about another player who's sort of a runaway train in terms of his dynasty value, but excited to talk a little bit more about process and value as we get closer and closer to April rather than, who's ranked above who.
Yeah. And keep trade cut. I don't think they had it loaded in before our last episode, but or at least not that I saw, but they have loaded in the rookies. So we are going to be discussing some of these rookie values right now. And I just want everybody to realize we are in the smack dab middle, maybe back half of February right now. And the rookie hype, I feel, at this time of the year is as strong as it's ever been, especially for some players. And with that, I think we'll kick off this rookie mock draft. You have the first pick.
I'll go ahead and take Ashton Jeanty.
So this has been the pick basically since we've started doing these, like back in November.
Yep.
It's always been Ashton Jeanty, Ashton Jeanty, Ashton Jeanty. But my question to you, Matt, is have we reached a breaking point with Ashton Jeanty? Because I'm looking at Keep Trade Cut right now. As I referenced earlier, the rookies are there. And he is currently in their Superflex Dynasty rankings, player number 19 overall, RB3. That's right, RB3 overall already. That means he is only behind Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson. So my question to you is, has this Ashton Jeanty hype gotten out of control?
I mean, we're certainly getting there if it is out of control. We started doing a little bit of a back and forth backstage on who would you rather have. And I think there's a real conversation on what you could sell the 1-1 for right now. It's not to say that he will be a disappointment, but look at the career arc that is currently went down for Breece Hall. Certainly not and that's a comp that we would want for Jeanty in the NFL, is a talent like Breece Hall, breakaway runner, 3-down bell cow, size, speed, monster, pass catcher, the works, right? And he's had a real struggle to his career. He had a fairly good season, torn ACL. There's quite a few things that got in his way, including Aaron Rodgers, but that's all to say that the situational factors could, emphasis on could, impact Ashton Jeanty all the same. There's a load of talent in this class. Jeanty is not the only running back in this class with juice, with a good profile that's going to be put in a good situation. So when we start to look at his value and say to yourself, could you actually realistically get Drake May for Ashton Jeanty, if not Drake May and a little bit more on top? I know I stole an example probably right out from under you, but I'd be looking to sell at that point. If I'm in a super flex league, quarterback is king, and I can get a 22-year-old starting quarterback with a rushing floor right now in this draft cycle, I think I'm taking that every day of the week. And that's not to say I would take any deal for the 101, but the juice is starting to become worth the squeeze here.
So that's the guy. That's the guy that's ranked right below him is Drake May. He's at player 20, quarterback 8. So I'm just gonna list off 3 or 4 guys here, and you tell me if you would prefer Ashton Jeanty or this player. So here's, I'm not gonna be kind to you. Caleb Williams or Ashton Jeanty, because that's a tough one.
That I would want a little bit more on top of Caleb.
Okay, what about CJ Stroud?
Same answer.
Drake London.
Same answer. I would need a little bit more on top. I would not do these one for one.
Okay, so he is what about Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Potentially.
It's at least fair. It's at least fair.
It is all these fair. But value over in the ballpark. Value over replacement, Jeanty, an elite quarterback is that of an elite running back. Where like Drake London is where I considered saying yes, I would do that.
Okay, so
I think I have some concerns about Penix, but if we were to take Penix's 75th or better percentile outcome, yes, I would take Drake London.
Okay, so basically what we learned is, yeah, his value is about, it's about right.
It's about right, you know, yeah, but
it's about right, I guess. You know, maybe, yeah, I mean, for me personally, I am going to be looking if in leagues where I have the 101, and I do this every year, so it's not just Ashton Jeanty specific. I'm going to see what I can get for the 101. And right now, if there's somebody who is willing to pay the iron price for Ashton Jeanty, they feel like they're Ashton Jeanty away from really being a super contender, I am going to let them have Ashton Jeanty. But that's also my philosophy with just about every player on my roster. It's like everybody's for sale. Give me the value. Give me some rookie picks. Give me a player that I like. You know, like if a deal is on the table, for example, if I can get a Garrett Wilson plus, if I can get like a Breece Hall plus, like in Rashee Rice plus, yeah, I'm a believer in all those players still. And to be honest with you, I think there's a real world, and I don't think I'm crazy saying this, where Breece Hall outscores Ashton Jeanty next year, because, you know, Breece Hall's entering his 3rd year and Ashton Jeanty's going to be a rookie, and we don't know the landing spot yet. So I'll just throw that out there. Breece Hall is currently the RB6, player 36 overall, and Ashton Jeanty, as we mentioned, is player 19, RB3 overall. So you could get a significant piece on top of Breece Hall, according to Keep Trade Cut. So I'm here for it. I'd be down to do something like that.
Absolutely.
So at the 102, I feel like I don't have a good handle on this player, but I'm going to take him here because I'm starting to hear from people I trust good things about Tet McMillan. This might be the most apprehensive pick I make in this entire draft at the 1-2. It makes me really nervous because I feel as though the safe pick is Omarion Hampton, because I know what Omarion Hampton is. He's a running back in a really good running back class who's been productive at a big school and can catch passes. And did I mention that he's really big? Like, he's a big physical running back who can catch passes. In my opinion, he's a true 3-down running back. But Tet McMillan also has a ton of upside. Also a lot of bust potential, but also a ton of upside. And I can't ignore the fact that he's probably going to get top 10 draft capital. There are some landing spots that I think are landmines for him, but at this stage in the game, I think I have to take who I believe is the most valuable player on the board. And again, I've gone back and forth on this, but as of right now, the most valuable player on the board, in my opinion, is Tet McMillan. Currently, Tet McMillan, player 35, wide receiver 15 overall, according to Keep Trade Cut, which I do think is kind of high. Like, he's ranked right behind Garrett Wilson, AJ Brown. He's ranked ahead of T. Higgins, Rashee Rice. I'll just say this right now, and I don't think you would have to give this up, but I would trade Tet McMillan for Rashee Rice in a heartbeat. So, and again, I don't think it's going to cost you that much because of the perceived value of Rashee Rice now. But that's my take on the 1-2 here. Thoughts before we move in, or you can just move on to 1-3.
No, yeah, I echo your sentiment. I do believe he's probably the 1-2 at this juncture. I started out a little bit lower on Tet McMillan and then worked into some more recent game film. Some of the stuff I was looking at originally was from 2023. And there is definitely a big difference. So a lot of the concerns I noticed were assuaged in 2024, mostly on his breaking capabilities. And I've come around. And you mentioned who I'll take at the 103 already. And so I'll take Omarion Hampton. We talk about, yet another running back that is a potential first round pick. I don't know if I would bet, as we said, I believe maybe on Tyler Knably's stream, but I don't know if I would bet over 1.5 running backs in the first round. Depending on the price, though, I would be very interested because there's a lot of talks about a Hampton or a Kaleb Johnson working their way into the first round. But regardless, it seems pretty locked that he's a second round pick at worst at this current juncture. And there's a lot of teams that need running backs. He's going to step in more than likely into a spot that's very favorable for him. You look at what he's been able to do consistently at North Carolina in terms of his production, also being involved in the passing game, and what I believe is, current projections, we'll see what it turns out to be, but current projections to be somewhere near an 80th percentile or higher speed score. So this all works in favor of Omarion Hampton, and I think this is tier 1 as of right now. Or tier 2, maybe, depending on how you view Jeanty.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, he's rushed for over 1,500 yards in back-to-back seasons. He's caught over 20 passes in back-to-back seasons. He caught over close to 40 passes this year. He's 220. I don't have his height and weight pulled up. Well, actually, I could pull it up right now. 6 foot, 220. I don't know why I doubted myself. I knew that. And projected 40 time is probably going to run somewhere in the 4.4s. I mean, if he runs in the 4.4s, forget about it. You're talking there potentially round 1 pick. So I like that. And he is also my RB2 in the class. This pick might shock you. But I'm all in on TreVeyon Henderson, man. I'm all in on TreVeyon Henderson. I just did my all 22 breakdown, which is going to drop on my channel this upcoming Friday. And I struggled to come up with a weakness in his game. I really did. And I get it, there's some injury concerns, but what I saw on film was the ability to run inside the tackles, quickness, the ability to change directions very fast, good vision, the ability when it's not there on the inside to, again, the quickness to get outside of the tackles. I saw him catch passes. I saw him run routes as a wide receiver and just completely blow by whoever was trying to cover him. I saw him block in pass protection better than Kaleb Johnson can pass protect. And Kaleb Johnson is 220. TreVeyon Henderson is 208. Still, I mean, he's not a small running back, but still, he's not one of these bigger, more physical running backs. And he can fly, man. He can fly. I get it. Kaleb Johnson's on the board right now. Burden, Emeka Egbuka. I understand, but I didn't have a choice. And I loved Quinshon Judkins entering into this film study, but TreVeyon Henderson might be my favorite player now in this entire draft class.
Whoo, that's a statement right there. I don't hate it. You know, I it's not a process I'm gonna scoff at by any means. And that's because we're pre-draft, we're pre-landing spot. Like, yes, I have Kaleb Johnson, Luther Burden, and Emeka Egbuka over TreVeyon Henderson right now. It's just those three outside of the ones we've already drafted. And I could easily flip that to where TreVeyon Henderson leads that pack depending on what happens in the draft. So I think they're in a very similar tier, all those prospects. And having one or the other, you know, leading that tier at the end of that tier or choosing to go one way or the other in a mock draft is perfectly fine. So I love the process there, love the player. It came around to him too. Remember, after the Michigan game, I had some pretty heavy recency bias. It probably had nothing to do with the fact that I had his alternate rushing line of like 25 rushing yards or something, and he didn't hit it.
Yeah.
So it probably has nothing to do with that, I'm sure. But at the 105, I'm gonna deviate a little bit. After watching, I decided to start Burden before Egbuka. And granted, I haven't watched Egbuka yet, so it could be recency bias of the film, but I have flipped the two. And I have Luther Burden now ahead in my rankings. Man, this guy is going to be so good. I mean, just a lot of the film cut-ups I've seen, his positional awareness. I mentioned similar traits about another receiver in the draft class about this being a good thing, but his ability when he works his route to work that leverage of a cornerback and always leave him guessing. And Burden has that explosive ability, so he's going to absolutely dominate zone coverage in the NFL. And if he goes to a team with a dominant, like number one or dominant outside receiver, that's going to be all the more beneficial to him because he's going to be nearly impossible to cover. Like, imagine Jordan Addison if he was really good, like a complete player on the Vikings with Jefferson on working the outsides. Like that, if you had an actual slot receiver in that offense, it would go absolutely crazy. And that's the type of, or I should have made a better comparison, like literally drop him in Dallas, like what's been potentially mocked out there. He would, in that passing game, he would fit so well. Very explosive. He has the high point, the technical ball skills, if you want to call them, body control, vision. He truly does have it all. And him and Egbuka, to me, is probably going to be a 1A, 1B scenario. That's just going to depend on who I see getting more targets in their current situation.
No, he has all the upside in the world, Luther Burden, and that's another player that I've risen as I've gone through the film. And again, I truly believe in upside swings. You need to, with your first round picks, you need to swing for the fences, and Luther Burden, if he hits, would be that home run pick. And there's so many good landing spots. You alluded to one in the Cowboys. That would be a perfect pairing. If he makes it a little bit further down the board, and somehow ends up with, the Chargers, or I don't know how he would fit with the Chiefs. The Chargers would be another interesting fit because, Lad McConkey, kind of has that slot roll down, and then Burden has played slot a lot in college, but I truly believe he can. I mean, he could develop to do just about whatever you asked him to do. I think he's that talented of a player, but again, that's the one knock on him is like, similar to Jalen Waddle in college, he played a lot of slot, and I think that's a pretty good comp for him right now. And again, I think there's some really good landing spots out there, and I really like that pick. So, that leaves me on the clock at the 106. And if I'm just going by my rankings right now, I'm going to pick another running back that I just absolutely love in Quinshon Judkins. These two running backs at Ohio State are phenomenal. And Quinshon Judkins, again, he might not have the breakaway speed that TreVeyon Henderson does, but he's as tough as a $2 steak. And again, he's faster than you think, but he doesn't have the breakaway speed. His projected 40 time that I've seen out there somewhere in the 4.5s, but he could sneak down into the 4.4s. And if he's 220 and he runs like a 4.49 or a 4.5, that's plenty fast enough with his skill set. And again, he's just one of those guys, again, where I saw on film where he is, and I know this might not mean a lot to some people, but he's lead blocking on quarterback power. And by the way, TreVeyon Henderson did the same thing. Lead blocking on quarterback power and just absolutely destroying cornerbacks out there who wanted nothing to do with getting blocked by Quinshon Judkins. And this year, and in back-to-back seasons, he's caught 20 passes as well. So for a big guy, he can catch passes. I think he's more than fast enough. He can run in between the tackles with the best of them. He is tough to bring down. He is a true 3-down, and he's good in pass protection. He is a true 3-down running back at the next level. And at this point, I would take both of them over Kaleb Johnson. And I'm pretty confident in that.
I like that. Look, this whole I've been on the record multiple times talking about my fear of the depth of this class. The quality once we get outside of round 2. But this first, 7-8 picks is a dogfight outside of the 101 at this point. Like it's truly a dogfight. There's really nothing I can say against Judkins at this point. Like I think in earlier mock drafts, we would have put at some point or another Kaleb Johnson before this pick.
Oh yeah, we did it like in our last one. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and we could do it in our next one. I don't know. But I do think there's a little bit of steam falling off of Kaleb Johnson, and he's not who I'm going to take here. I'm going to stop the skid with Travis Hunter. Because I do think when push comes to shove, I probably would end up taking Kaleb Johnson or Tre Harris before Travis Hunter in this pick. But I want to take him here to be the reminder that things aren't just because the media and people are afraid that he's not going to play receiver and he's going to the combine as a cornerback. Nothing has been set in stone yet. And when we go back to the conversation Seth and I had weeks ago, when we looked at, let's talk about 1+1. We got Travis Hunter. His projected draft capital is very high. So you look at those teams that are in spots to draft him, and you think to yourself, where is this team going to, where is he going to play corner for this team? And that's not a fit issue. It's just that there's such a premium right now on wide receivers and number one wide receivers. And NFL scouts, believe you me, are going to view Travis Hunter as a special receiver. So let's let this pick be the reminder that before all this fiasco started, he was no later than the 103 in rookie drafts. So let's remember what we had just a few weeks ago and remember to keep Travis Hunter in the front of our minds and not get too crazy with what's going on and surrounding him at this point.
I broke down Travis Hunter in his all 22 film. He was one of the first players that I did. It was, I can't remember exactly when. It might have been months ago. It might have been a month ago. But I came out of that film session thinking this guy can go either way. He can be an elite wide receiver at the next level. He can be an elite cornerback at the level. He has all the tools. And I have his scouting his scouting profile pulled up that I wrote, and these are some of the notes. He's a phenomenal athlete who can help his team win in a variety of ways. He is smooth as butter as a wide receiver. He can run all the routes that you want him to run. He has great speed, great acceleration, great hands, great run after the catch ability. The only concern I had was him going up against more physical cornerbacks. I did see him get stymied a couple times, but I think that's something he has more than enough footwork. Like, he's more than technical enough to develop that at the next level. And I think there's quite a few receivers entering the NFL who struggle with that. And the comp that immediately came to my mind, and I put two down, and it was like a range of outcomes type deal. Justin Jefferson through Jameson Williams, like somewhere in there is what he reminded me of. And if he chose to be a wide receiver, I would stick by that for as of right now. But the only reason that you are getting him at the 1-7 in this draft, and the only reason that he is falling in rookie drafts, and anybody else who tells you any different, I think is full of it, full of you know what, is because of the perception that he's going to play cornerback. If he came out, if the same thing were true on the other way, if he said, I'm going to the combine as a wide receiver, hell, there'd be some people taking him at the 101.
Absolutely, there would be. And that's why, I'm not letting him fall past the 107 in these mocks. Like, I still think we have a more reasonable outcome that he ends up a receiver.
I honestly don't know. Like,
I have
lying.
no idea.
Yeah,
and
like
that's where it's just
we know, but and here's news for you: nobody knows. Nobody knows. Like, even the people who say they know don't know. It's probably more likely that he plays corner, mostly corner, but he was pretty adamant at one time that he wanted to play both ways. So we'll see. Situation's going to be everything for him, and like coaching, and God, please don't let him go to the Giants. All right, that puts me up here, and I will stop the skid with Kaleb Johnson. And it's not that I don't like Kaleb Johnson, because look at the shirt I'm wearing right now. I'm the biggest Iowa fan there is, and there's no doubt that Kaleb Johnson had a phenomenal season at Iowa, and I think he scored 57% of their touchdowns. I'm pretty sure that Iowa scored 40 touchdowns as a program, and he scored 23 of those touchdowns. And if you do the math, that's 57%, 57.5%, something like that. But here's what I'll say about Kaleb Johnson that makes me nervous is that offensive line for Iowa was really good, and he ran through a lot of gaping wide open holes. And when he had to run through tackles, I didn't necessarily see him do that all the time. He's not as elusive as I would like him to be, and I know he's a bigger running back. I understand that, but he's still not that elusive. Not that I saw on tape. Now, he did rank number 14 in PFF's elusiveness rating amongst college running backs, which is good, minimum 100 snaps. But he doesn't run through contact either as much as I would like for a bigger running back. And his pass pro, and PFF would back me up on this, his pass protection's bad. He is bad in pass protection. So there is a world with Kaleb Johnson where he never develops into a true 3-down running back. And I think right now, and if I don't know if you could use him on third down, to be honest with you. Like that's how bad he is in pass protection. So again, it's all going to depend. Like obviously, if he gets first round draft capital and he goes to a landing spot that we like the Chargers or the Broncos or something crazy good like that, obviously he's going to be taken a lot higher than this. But I have my concerns. Now I'm taking him at the 108 because I acknowledge the upside, and he's the best player on my board right now because he could absolutely hit. I'm just a little bit nervous right now about Kaleb Johnson.
Yeah, I get it. And that's the similar concerns that have dropped him down a little bit in the rankings. I'm probably still a little bit bullish on him. And transparently, running back film hasn't something I've fully gotten into yet. So I haven't seen the third down concerns, myself yet. So we'll see how eye opening it is when I turn on the film. But yeah, I can definitely speak for Judkins. That won't be a problem. Pass protection.
Yeah, like, and it's not to say he can't develop into it's not to say he can't develop into a good pass protector. Like,
but it
he
matters
just
if he's not
yeah,
not able to do that right away. That's playing time he's not getting.
Yeah, and exactly. And then we want him to be on the field, like, and I went on a rant in like I also I just in general I don't like running backs that can't be utilized in multiple ways. And Kaleb Johnson's a better than you think pass catcher, so he can definitely catch passes, but he's gonna need to get better at pass pro. And the NFL is still a passing league. I know the running backs came back this year, and Saquon was leading the charge. But you watch, there's gonna be, yeah, we're probably gonna swing right back to the wide receivers next year, breaking out. So, well, who knows with some of these rookie running backs? It could just be, the another year of the running back. I could just be talking nonsense right now, but like that stuff matters. It really does, and it's a concern for sure with Kaleb Johnson. So, your pick, sir.
Oh, that's right. It is my pick. I got lost I got lost a little bit.
You're
Let's
good.
put Emeka Egbuka up on the board.
I had a feeling that's who you're gonna take.
Yep. I said a lot about what I like about Egbuka when I talked about Luther Burden. I mean, both of those players are going to be playing. Egbuka is going to be closer to like a power slot. Luther Burden's a little lighter, a little bit more agile. Although Egbuka does appear to have similar breakaway speed. We saw him make big plays all throughout his career and definitely throughout the end of this last season. But he's also going to be a guy that's just going to be able to torch zone coverages. He's going to be somebody who's able to play on the outside a little bit more consistently. He's also, as you saw at Ohio State, like somebody you can really deploy in a lot of unique different ways. You saw the way Ohio State kind of put him as a pseudo tight end, chip blocking. And is he going to be able to get away with that stuff? I don't necessarily know. He is pushing 200 pounds right now as a receiver. So think about, I'm not going to put him in Deebo Samuel land because I think he's a much more refined receiver than Deebo has really ever been known to be, or at least for the past few years. But similar archetype where he's a heavier guy and just the same as you can use him in motion and spread him out, you can also pack him in and use him as a pseudo tight end, which can really create problems for a defense in terms of figuring out how to create matchups. Because if you put a linebacker on a Egbuka, I mean, say goodnight. You're going to lose that battle 10 times out of 10. So he's going to create a lot of matchup problems for defenses. Probably, I think he should be a first round pick just based on talent. I think this is a draft class that is loaded in a lot of other areas that may be more pressing needs for teams. So maybe that doesn't pan out. But you're more tuned into the most recent mock drafts. Is he a first round pick still, or is he mostly second?
Yeah, I've seen him a lot in the first round, or at least a decent amount. And I haven't looked at a mock draft in probably a week, but like a week ago, I saw him late first round multiple times. So if he gets that kind of draft capital, I mean, this is a steal here at the 1-9 for sure. And so that's my answer to that. And my answer to the next question is this is more of a value-based pick. Now, I'm coming around on this tight end class. And I just want to say this, okay? I'm gonna look up Tyler Warren, and maybe maybe this is the real, like, has the station left the train already? I mean, I think everybody's just assuming that Tyler Warren is gonna get top 10 draft capital, and maybe that'll happen. Maybe it will. But right now he is player number 67 according to Keep Trade Cut, and he's already the tight end 4 according to Keep Trade Cut. And I like Tyler Warren. I'm taking him here at the 110 because I'm hearing what a lot of people are saying, and I'm thinking he's gonna at the very worst get first round draft capital. But I'm just gonna say this, everybody. Really, like, Luther Burden is less valuable than Tyler Warren according to Keep Trade Cut. Emeka Egbuka is ranked lower than Tyler Warren.
I get it.
Quinshon Judkins is ranked lower. Caleb Johnson's ranked lower. I just can't get
starting. That starts to become a stretch, but
I just
if
can't.
If he is a truly like top echelon tier 1 Bowers, McBride, Warren asset, like, yeah, he is more valuable, and so I see why his value's propped up, but you started to reach a point where I started losing it.
Yeah, I think I don't think he's that. I think he's good, but I just don't think he's that good. That's where I am with Tyler Warren. So again, if I have to be Debbie Downer and, piss on some people's parade here, I guess that's what I'll have to do. But I'll throw it to you with the 111.
I'll take a big leap here. Something I have not done. Oh, actually, sorry. I had somebody that I missed on the top of my board. Tre Harris. I am not moving off of Tre Harris. I was about to make a pretty big leap of a pick, but forgot that I have the safe alpha prospect out of Ole Miss. Still love what I see out of him. I'm going to continue to emphasize my concern of needing a little bit of refinement, and that this may not be, and that's why he fits as a later first round pick. He may not be a true year 1 producer. He might be somebody who, if he gets overdrafted in your dynasty draft, may have a pretty big value pocket after potentially a disappointing start to the season. Just because while he does have an incredible athletic profile, there's just some concerns about, playing against press and just being kind of overall refined. But he has the size speed combination. He's going to be that true X that we really love in fantasy football. I'll keep throwing my comparison back to Nico Collins as an example of what that role can do in fantasy football. So at the end of a tier here for me, I will take Tre Harris.
Very good. Very good. I like the pick. I think there's a lot of upside there with Tre Harris. I am going to stick with the running back position and I don't know. I'm just going to take somebody that I've really liked throughout the process, and it's a little bit of a different direction. Or that's not who I want. That's who I want. I'm going to go Devin Neal. I just think, again, he had a really solid Senior Bowl by all accounts, and you look at what he's done at Kansas, and I don't think too many people have done what he's been able to do back-to-back-to-back seasons of at least 20 receptions, at least 1,000 rushing yards, and in back-to-back seasons he's had over 1,200 rushing yards. And you'd start to take a look at his profile. He's 5'11". I have him listed somewhere between 215 and 220. The Sports Reference has him at 208. So I don't know. I think he's closer to that 215 mark, but somebody correct me if I'm just totally off on that. And he's projected, at least from what I'm seeing, like 4.50, like low 4.4s, high 4.5s in terms of 40. And just his running style, he's very patient. He's very technically sound. Like I said, I think Devin Neal, I haven't done the full in-depth breakdown yet, but from what I've seen, very impressed with Devin Neal.
As am I. He's in that very next tier of talent for me. And I'm going to take a running back now that I haven't been willing to take around this spot in a very long time. Honestly, not since probably like last year when I thought he was coming out for the draft, but Ollie Gordon.
Ollie Gordon.
There's been a lot of steam on Ollie Gordon, and I think the NFL is going to value him more than what the average fantasy football manager was, an average college football fan was thinking going into this part of the process. It's hard to deny what happened in 2023. It's hard to see that 1,700 rushing yard performance, 22 touchdowns, sneakily 40 receptions, or 39 receptions to be exact, and over 300 receiving yards, back-to-back seasons with 30 receptions. This team was absolutely awful this year. So the rushing stats are tough. Had some injuries, still made it with 14 touchdowns, and again with 30 receptions as a 20-year-old at Oklahoma State on a program that really struggled this year. There's something to say about gotta be able to analyze and just look at his frame of work, and he's someone that pops out on film. Like it's disappointing to see, and you go in with a prior because Ollie Gordon wasn't on the highlight reels. He wasn't on the top 10 plays. Oklahoma State wasn't in the big games. And you automatically have that prior of not hearing about Ollie Gordon for over 365 days. And then you look and you see only 858 rushing yards, 14 touchdowns. Ollie had a bad year. And now we forget just how good Ollie Gordon was just a year ago. And we look at just his real athleticism score is probably going to be really good. He, based on like the in-game speeds, he has good top end speed. Nothing that's gonna, I don't think he's projected to have like a blow you away speed like Jeanty or somebody, but
I've seen, and
it's
again,
up there, right?
like this is all speculation. I've seen mid 4.4s, high 4.4s as speculation.
Let me see. Yeah. 4.45 is what NFL Draft Buzz has him projected at.
Yep.
Now that's estimated. I believe that's estimated from a high school combine, but
so let's just say 4.5.
Still, like, though, that's very good.
That's great. That'd be great for his size. Yeah.
6'2", 225. Like, come on. So yeah. I think the NFL is going to take him very seriously, and he's going to get higher than expected draft capital. And, Tyler Knably was a little wild in with his ranking of Ollie Gordon, but he had the right idea. Like, I'm really starting to come around. Him and Cam Skattebo have both been pushing up my rankings.
The Scat Man.
I'm not ready to put Cam up above them just yet.
Yeah. No, Ollie Gordon, I think I don't know exactly what happened at Oklahoma State. I'm not going to lie. I'm not plugged in to the Oklahoma State beat. But the teams, I'm pretty sure the team stunk.
Oh, they were bad. They were bad.
And so, yeah. And the wheels just fell apart. But people forget, and this kind of reminds me, and I said this when I was talking about Chuba Hubbard to somebody recently. I don't even know if I just said it there. When I was talking about Ollie Gordon, I was like, this kind of reminds me of Chuba Hubbard, and just consequently Chuba Hubbard went to Oklahoma State as well. So I don't know. Obviously different player, but you're seeing the kind of success that Chuba Hubbard's had, And like Ollie Gordon, like you referenced it, people forget he just in 2023, 1,732 rushing yards, 21 touchdowns, averaged over 6 yards a carry, caught 39 passes for 330 yards. And still this year he caught 29 passes. So he's a bigger running back who's faster than you think he is, who can catch passes out of the backfield. That sounds like a fantasy football wet dream to me. But especially getting him in round 2 of a single quarterback rookie mock draft. I mean, I was considering him amongst a lot of different players at the 112. Went with Devin Neal, but at the so kudos. I think it's a great pick. I'm gonna take Dylan Sampson here, and Sampson is a player I've liked throughout the entire process, and I think it was very impressive what Dylan Sampson was able to do when Jalen Wright was playing within the same system last year, who was drafted on day 3 by the Miami Dolphins. 604 rushing yards in 2023, caught 17 passes, not 20, but he did catch 17 passes. This season just completely took over that Tennessee offense. I mean, 1,491 rushing yards, 22 touchdowns, 20 receptions. So I get it. He didn't go back-to-back seasons of getting 20 receptions like I would have preferred, but he did hit the benchmark this year. He's fast. He's elusive. I think he's very in a similar vein to some of the more undersized running backs that we've seen come out recently, like the Devon Chains, the Keaton Mitchells. He's that type of guy. And again, I am very, very intrigued with Dylan Sampson, and I think this is the perfect place to take him.
With the 2-3, completely. I mean, I love Dylan Sampson as well, so I think that's a great pick. For me at the 2-3, I will go back to my roots, so to speak, and I'll take Brashard Smith.
Nice.
I'm going to continue to beat the drum. I think he's moved down a little bit, as you can see. I think some realism has set in here, where draft capital just probably isn't going to match what I want it to be. Best believe if it does and we get a surprise, I'm going to bump it back up. But I got to be real and understand that guys like Gordon, Sampson, Devin Neal are probably going to find their NFL home sooner than Brashard Smith. As we know, in certain situations, that could benefit Brashard Smith, depending on where he lands. But what I do know about him is fits it. He's a very natural runner. He only played running back for 1 year in SMU, transferred out of Miami. You've heard that story before, I'm sure. But when you combine just the vision and all of the instincts that he showed as a runner in his first year, that's incredibly promising. He was able to break tackles. He was able to hit the second level, break away from defenders. Oh, and yeah, he has plenty of experience as a receiver, so he was very heavily involved in the passing game as well. So is he a full 3-down back typical profile? No, not necessarily. But, if a guy like Tyrone Tracy, who he is very similar to, surprisingly, if he can find his way in this dynasty landscape and in this NFL world, so can Brashard Smith. So I think he could be very valuable in fantasy based on, the way PPR scoring is set up.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot. We've both been on. Well, you were on Brashard Smith first. You alerted him to me, and then I also. I mean, Tyrone Tracy, I feel like is a really good comparison. I'm just gonna be Mr. Tight End here, and even though I don't really like this, I mean, it's not that I don't like the class. I have put that in a comment. Like I have responded to somebody's comment, and I said I'm not as high on this tight end class as some people. Some people are just going out of their minds, and I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but I see a lot of good. I don't see a lot of great in this tight end class. I think these players could be productive for fantasy, especially Tyler Warren. But I think Loveland's going to get first round draft capital, and if he does get that, he's going to be absolutely worth the pick here at the 2-4. So I don't really have much to say. He's productive at a school that likes to run the football. Had his best season as a sophomore with over 600 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns, and then backed it up this year with 582 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns. So I'll throw it right back to you at the 2-5. We're going a little bit long tonight, but that's okay. So I want to get us back on track here a little bit. It doesn't mean we can't go in depth with our analysis, but 205.
Yep, I will go with Tez Johnson here at the 205. I've
Ooh.
really started to come around to his film, and I think he's the receiver I like next here on the board. Wanted to shake it up a little bit instead of going back to another running back, so I'll take the receiver that I'm most high on. I'm gonna break down some film here on Tez Johnson real soon, so maybe something more in depth to come, but he has very natural senses as a route runner. He's incredibly explosive. Yes, he's a little bit undersized, but I think they can make that work in the NFL. He's going to have a gadgetier role, but if he could be Jaden Reed plus in this NFL with what Jaden Reed is currently seeing as a snap count and route percentage, then I think he could have a successful career.
Absolutely. I am going to take a running back that I have also broken down and just I don't care anymore. I want Cam Skattebo. And my working comp for him right now is David Montgomery because he does everything you want him to do. The only concern is the straight line speed. And honestly, if he runs in the low 4.6s, which I'm really pulling for, I hope he doesn't have a, run a 4.7, whatever. That would not be great. But even then, even if he does run a 4.7 at the NFL Combine, I'm still going to take the discount. I'm still going to be drafting Cam Skattebo because you turn on the film, he does everything that you would want a running back to do. I mean, he can catch passes running between the tackles. He's quicker laterally than you think he is. He makes people miss in the open field. He's hard to bring down. Literally, the only concern that I have is does he have the breakaway speed? Does he have enough breakaway speed to be, a true starting running back at the NFL level? And I'm going to be counting on NFL teams to answer that for me, and we'll see. But I really like Cam Skattebo.
Yeah, he was who I was flirting with there at the 205. Was hoping maybe I would get him to come back, but I should have known. I always treat this like a regular draft, and I should have waited for Tez Johnson. But
just got to go get your guys, man.
I'll go back to back with another running back, and I'll take Jordan James.
Okay.
So not the sexiest prospect, but you look at his historic production and you understand, there was a really talented running back there in Bucky Irving, and then comes out and has a near 1,300 yard rushing season, 15 touchdowns, 26 receptions. He's not, a true pass catcher, not a natural pass catcher. So not necessarily having the highest excitement for his PPR upside, but as a pure runner, he's very talented. And you could see that when he's running the ball, just his ability to accelerate into the second level. He looks like 83rd percentile speed projected. So he certainly has the breakaway speed. He has an interesting size, weight combination, 5'10", 210. So roughly like Devin Singletary size, but much faster. So that could prove out well for him. He does struggle with run blocking. He does have the size to be a good run blocker. So hopefully that's something that could be ironed out, but I'll take Jordan James here.
Yeah, and I'm going to take this guy. I have my motivations for taking him. Because this might just open a whole bag of worms, but I'm going to take Matthew Golden here at the 208. And admittedly, I have watched some Matthew Golden. I have not done all of the homework that I want to do yet. I've been basically handicapping the cappers on Matthew Golden, and just about everybody I listen to, some people are saying he's a top 5 wide receiver in this class. I don't know if I'd go that far with this. I guess outside of, once you get past Tre Harris, maybe it's a wild card, out there in Matthew Golden. I do know this. He balled out against some really good teams. Against Arizona State, 7 catches, 149 yards, and a touchdown. Against Georgia in the college football playoff first round, 8 catches, 162 yards. So he's definitely a guy that came on strong and performed when it mattered most. And like I said, a lot of the guys that I pay attention to and respect that grind film really like this guy. And I mean, there's a chance that he's probably going to go a lot higher than this. I am still taking the reserved approach on Matthew Golden, saying like I trust a lot of these people. I'm not 100% there yet with him. And whenever there's a bunch of hype and a bunch of smoke on a guy when he's rising up the rankings extremely fast, I usually take okay, let's pump the brakes and slow down here a little bit, because this feels like it's moving really fast, and sometimes that's right, sometimes that's wrong. And for better or worse, that's our process. Where are you at with Matthew Golden, Matt? I know we were talking about this before the show, so I don't know. That's kind of my opinion.
In the interest of time, like I told you backstage, like an alarm bell goes off in my head, like when somebody from a Power 5 school that has prominence like Texas doesn't become somebody on our radar until 2.5 months before the draft. That's just always a huge alarm bell. Like, man, you guys watch all the games, these people, tweeting. So like, why were you guys not tweeting about Matthew Golden so much? Is it because he wasn't doing a lot in the games? It's because he wasn't doing a lot in the games, was it? So that scares me. You made a good point that he came on strong when it mattered, and the Texas passing game as a whole did struggle. So you have to start asking very nuanced questions that are tough to answer, like how much is it on Matthew Golden? And that's how we have to rely on film to help parse some of that out and say, so basically what I'm hearing from the community is Matthew Golden is better than what this Texas offense was. And that is a real possibility. So we look at the talent profiles. I think this is a great spot for Matthew Golden. I once again pondered taking him there. I think I really just need to go with my gut instead of hedging in some of these situations. So just a
quick point. The first time that Matthew Golden had over 100 receiving yards this season was against Georgia in the college football playoff. So I'll just leave it at that. And going back to 2023, his best game up until that point was against, I don't even know what this school is called, Sam Houston Bearcats. This is his best year. 9 catches, or best game, 9 catches, 92 yards. So yeah, and I think he transferred to Texas this year. So he actually had a pretty good game against Texas, which is maybe why, Texas saw something and was like, we got to get this guy. But anyway, I guess it's my pick, isn't it?
No, it's my pick.
Oh, is it? Oh, yeah.
I had a nice segue.
Yeah. And then I ruined it. I walked all over it.
That train hit the tracks.
Yeah.
Harold Fannin Jr. in the spirit of sticking to my gut. I think This guy's super talented. I know that there's going to be some tight end sticklers that are going to tell you, he's not a good enough blocker and stuff like that. But this is a new game, man. And guys like Harold Fannin will eat when put in the right situation. And it's not like, he did beat up on some bad competition, but sometimes you got to look at yourself and say 117 receptions, 1,555 yards, and 10 touchdowns. Maybe the guy is just good. And we talked about looking for signals when we went over tight end rankings, and Fannin's going to have the similar college dominator numbers that Trey McBride had at the small school. And what we have with Fannin is 8th ranked Penn State, 11 receptions, 137 yards, and a touchdown. 25th ranked Texas A&M, 8 receptions, 105 yards, and a touchdown. 65-yard touchdown in that game. He had 8 games over 100 yards. He had 3 games over 150 yards. He had 2 games over 190 yards, and he had 1 game over 200 yards. He had a 17 reception game in his final game against Arkansas State. Again, I know Arkansas State, but do you know how hard it is to be the only playmaker on a team like like Bowling Green and still put up 17 receptions, 213 yards and a touchdown? They talked about this with Trey McBride. Like, he's getting doubled. He is their only game plan, is Harold Fannin Jr. for the most part, and he's still eating. Like, I refuse to believe he's not going to find a way to be on a promising situation.
This is not a typo. These are real stats. He had 117 catches, 1,555 receiving yards, and 10 touchdowns. I think he led the nation in receiving as a tight end.
I believe so.
So that's a good.
I don't care who he's playing against. That is impressive.
That is impressive. Speaking of impressive, let me see if this guy's in here. No, he's not.
They still don't have Jaylin Noel in there?
No, shame on you, Sleeper.
That is crazy.
Shame.
Just put someone in there as a placeholder.
Who's like at the bottom?
I'm
just gonna scroll to the bottom.
Ricky
Somebody
White.
Tanner Aju. I swear I'm not.
Oh, actually, somebody did somebody in a football guy's mock draft. I did put him in as for Jaylin Noel.
Oh, really? Okay,
Aju.
We'll do that then. They have somebody who's playing for the Colts. Is that right?
That's weird.
And the rookies. Anyway, so this is Jaylin Noel. Jaylin Noel. I won't go on. I won't be as long-winded as I have been. Very impressive senior year with the Cyclones. 1,194 receiving yards, 8 touchdowns. Really good Senior Bowl. Showed out, and everybody that I trust that was there was just had glowing reviews for Jaylin Noel. So I'm gonna chase the upside here in the late second round. There were some other players I could have taken here, but I'll throw it right back to you, Mr. Babbage. You're at the 211.
Xavier Restrepo.
It's another.
He's been sliding a lot, but I think this is very closer, if not more, towards the side of being undervalued on Restrepo. He's very talented slot receiver. I remember at one point you said, what can Luther Burden do that Xavier Restrepo couldn't do?
Did I say that?
Oh, I believe you said that. But that, to be in your defense, it was in the
I don't
middle
remember
of
that.
It was in the middle of passing ships in terms of how their seasons were playing out, and it was also in November. So I think I would say if there's any time to get a pass on a take like that, it's in the middle of November when Restrepo's having a good year and Burden is not. But I'll just leave it at that. I'm going to take Restrepo.
Fair. Man, there's so many good players and maybe we'll talk about some of them at the end here. There's so many different directions I could go in, but I don't think I'll have to take this guy this high. But this is just going to be another one of my guys, Elic Ayomanor from Stanford. And again, when we talk about Travis Hunter, I guess Travis Hunter is going to be cornerback. But if Travis Hunter is like this just bona fide, and I believe that he is, this bona fide can't miss cornerback prospect, then we need to be talking about Elic Ayomanor too, because Elic Ayomanor had one of the best games against Travis Hunter back in 2023. And I'm pulling up the stat line now, and this is not a joke. And I know this game went into double overtime, but this is not a joke. And Elic Ayomanor wasn't always lined up against Travis Hunter in this game, but he did catch a lot of passes in that game. 13 of them, in fact, for 294 yards and 3 touchdowns in a 46-43 double overtime shootout against Colorado in 2023. And he's just a bigger, more physical wide receiver that I think is a little bit faster than you think. I see 4.42 according to NFL Draft Buzz. Again, unofficial. But if he runs in the 4.4s at 6'2", 210, that's gonna be really good. That's gonna be a really good athleticism score.
Absolutely.
And you're gonna be able to get this guy in the 3rd round. And I'll just say this right now as a bold take. I don't know how NFL teams let him get past day 2. I don't know. Like I from what I've seen so far, I think he's just
I would be shocked.
Really, really good. I think this is a guy that is going to be drafted a lot higher than you think. And I absolutely really like Elic Ayomanor.
We did it.
And that's the draft. All right. Any final thoughts here before we say goodbye?
No, I love how our final rankings are starting to shake up here as we start doing these. I think I learned a little bit, as I usually do, as we have these conversations. I think I kind of learn who I want to tweak. I don't think there's been a single show where I haven't moved somebody a little bit after we talk. So, move people around a little bit more, and excited to finally start hitting film so I can finally answer the question, how much do I like Cam Skattebo?
The scat man.
It's growing on me. He's certainly growing on me. But how much? Where is the buck going to stop? And that'll find out when I watch the film.
Yeah, I can't believe there haven't been more jazz jokes like scattabadoo, the scat man. Listen, all you cool.
I'd be so mad if I worked my ass off, got to the NFL, and then everyone was calling me the scat man.
Scat.
Or I'd lean into it, I'd get a first down, and I'd be like,
yeah, do a little jazz hands for a first down. Because you're the scat man.
That would look ridiculous.
Scattabadoo, Skattebo.
Oh my gosh. Skattebo. This is what happens when we go over an hour. We just start hallucinating.
Yeah, that's right. We're drunk with how much fun we had drafting players. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to click the like button on YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the podcast feed on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And until next time, nobody cares about Aaron Rodgers, and we will see you later.